This is Greg Kelly. Donate now to Toys for Tots, which works year-round. Go to toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots supports children in need throughout the year with programs like the Toys for Tots Literacy Program. Established in 2008, it has provided over 63 million books to disadvantaged children. The Toys for Tots Literacy Program is committed to providing disadvantaged children with direct access to books and educational resources that enhance their ability to read and communicate effectively. Go to toysfortots.org.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Attention Ditto Heads. Attention Bo Scouts.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
It's time for the Soul of Excellence.
He is a radio host here in New York.
The Rush Hour is on the air.
Rush.
Now here's James Golden.
Do you run a risk of being on the wrong side of President Trump and your resistance to do this talking filibuster, tying the Senate in knots for weeks?
We don't have the votes either to proceed, get on a talking filibuster, nor to sustain one if we got on it. But that is just a function of math. And there isn't anything I can do about that. I mean, I understand the President's got a passion to see this issue addressed, as we all do.
Does he understand that, though?
Well, we've conveyed that to him, but we will continue to make that argument because I think it's important that everybody understand that this really is about the votes, it's about the math. And I'm for better or worse, I'm the one who has to be the clear-eyed realist about what we can achieve here. And so we'll continue to convey that. And I think that we're going to have the fight on the floor. We're going to vote on this. We're going to put it up, and we'll give the Democrats the opportunity to cast their vote on whether or not they think non-citizens ought to vote in American elections. And so that debate will happen. But like I said, I can guarantee the debate. I can guarantee a vote. I just can't guarantee an outcome.
We don't have the votes. We just don't have the votes. We look, I have to be the cleary-eyed realist here. I know 80% of the American people want it. The people, even Democrats want it. And you know, the black people that they say can't get ID, most of them want it too. And the married women that they say won't be able to vote, they want it. Everybody wants it, but we don't have the votes. I have to be the cleary-eyed realist. I have to tell you no, because we got some Democrats here, and I don't like fighting the Democrats. You know, we don't like fighting Democrats. You know, we like for them to just tell us to bend over and take it, and we like taking it because that's who we are. We don't have the votes. We can't come up with votes. Welcome, my friends, to the Wednesday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, fastest hour in American media. That was Senate Majority Leader. Hard to believe he's in the majority. John Thune with, you don't have the votes. Take the SAVE Act and shove it up your, you know what, shove it up there. Because we don't have the votes for it. You know, Democrats don't want us to do it, and we don't have the votes. All people are saying is try. They won't even try the filibuster because it would cause too much. It would cause too much conflict and too much chaos on the Senate floor. And you know, we have people like Susan Collins. If we had this thing and people start adding amendments to, they might force Susan Collins to take difficult votes. And we don't want that. We don't want Susan Collins to have to face difficult votes. These people in the United States Senate, they are sickening. Sickening. And people on the Republican side are tired of hearing the excuses. Find a way to get it done. And if you have Republicans that don't want to play ball, then play hardball with them. If you have to get rid of the filibuster in order to do it, then get rid of the filibuster. If you have to try to do a talking filibuster, then at least make the attempt. Don't come out with your tail between your legs already before the fight's even started, giving up on the fight. Carlos said it. He said, listen, this guy sounds like he has a loser mentality. That's what he sounds like. And that's because that is exactly what they have. Democrats will fight to high heaven for anything. They'll fight when the fight doesn't even seem possible. And then they'll fight some more. This guy walks out ready to give up. Somebody has to be the real clear-eyed realist here and just tell the American people to go shove it up there, to just F off. Just tell the American people, so what? We got Democrats in the Senate here that don't want it. And so we're going to just do everything that we can to just bend over, grab our ankles, and let the Democrats do it to us one more time because that's what they do and because we like it. It was ridiculous. Meanwhile, in the House, there's your SAVE Act. While we're on the SAVE Act, before we get off it, let me just play a few things for you here. Chuck U. Schumer. Cut 2. Listen to this from Chuck U. Schumer.
Yes, but their bill isn't voter ID, number one. It is about voter registration. It allows ICE to kick tens of billions of people off the rolls, and they don't tell them until Election Day, and you show up and you say, you're not registered anymore. You're not registered here. You're not on the rolls.
So according to Chuck U. Schumer, and this, by the way, should come as a surprise for everybody because I didn't think we knew this. ICE suddenly will be the enforcement mechanism of elections. According to Chuck U. Schumer, it will allow ICE to kick off tens of billions of people off of the voter rolls. Quick question from the staff and from the onlookers. We have onlookers in the studio. One is in training here to become a member of the staff. Hello, onlooker. How many people do you think are on the voting rolls of the United? Just a guess. I'm not even asking you to be anywhere near accurate. How many? Well, let me just ask you this question. It's an Ebonic question, which is why I'm axing it. Philip is there too. Philip, let's start with you. About how many Americans are there in America, Philip?
Probably I would say 70, 80, 100 billion people. Probably like
100 billion people.
700,
okay.
Maybe 800 billion people.
700 billion people. 800 billion people.
Point, yeah.
Somewhere around there. Okay. Onlooker, you got to come close to the mic. You have to speak. Hello, onlooker.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Onlooker, how many people are in the United States of America?
I say 30 million.
30 million?
Yes.
You way low.
Not way low?
You way low, boy. I'm going to have to send you to political retraining school or something.
Never was good with numbers.
Okay, well, that's okay. That didn't mean to embarrass you, onlooker. We haven't used your name. You're all right. Nobody going to talk to you tonight. You're not going to go home tonight and go say, 30 million? Boy, where were you in civics class? Carlos, how many Americans are there?
I'm not from here. I have no idea.
Don't try to come up with a disclaimer first. First thing out of his mouth, I'm not from here. How are you asking me these questions? I'm not from here. I only come here and take your money. And then I go back home. I'm not from here. Just saying.
I do it legally, though. Anyways,
Thank you.
He said 30. You said no. He said something stupid.
He didn't say something stupid. He said what? He said a few 100 billion.
I say 100 million.
You way low, too. I ain't going to call you boy because I don't want no static. In case you ain't from here, but you know how things work. I said call you boy, all of a sudden NAA, LCP, everybody else going to be talking about, he called a black man boy. Get him fired. But he a black man. Don't make no difference. Fire him. All right, here's the deal. There are roughly 340 some odd million Americans here in America, or peoples in America. Because that 345 million includes about 30 million people that shouldn't be here. There's illegals mixed in that number. About 30 million of them, 11 million of them came in when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris was president. A third of the illegal population arrived here in the years that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were running the show. So now let's play, now that you know that, and not all of the 345 million people vote. Now that you know the numbers, let's listen to Chuck U. Schumer one more time, shall we?
Yes, but their bill isn't voter ID, number one. It is about voter registration. It allows ICE to kick tens of billions of people off the rolls, and they don't tell them until Election Day, and you show up and you say, you're not registered anymore. You're not registered here. You're not on the rolls.
Okay, now, so you know that despite the fact there are only 345 million people here in America, somehow ICE is going to kick off tens of billions of them from the voting rolls, which is a little bit suspicious. One of the reasons perhaps we might need the SAVE Act.
Maybe Phil and Chuck Schumer know something we don't know.
Maybe that's why maybe we need the SAVE Act. Because maybe Phil and Chuck U. Schumer got it right, and there are tens of billions of people on the voting rolls, and we just don't know it. It's very possible that Philip was right. And that's what Chuck U. Schumer and he are talking about. And they have the inside track on it. There are tens of, maybe billions of people on the rolls voting, and we haven't heard a clue about it up until now. Anyway, my friends, I'm being asked who is blackmailing John Thune. Who is bribing? Nobody. Republicans in the Senate have been acting this way since Republicans have been in the Senate in the 20th century, and it is a carry-on. We got to take a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. In spite of all the news that you have been hearing, and there is more to come, we're urging you not to worry about any of it. James Golden, Snerdley with you here. Don't go away.
Rush. This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Bo Snerdley.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
Okay, we have some things to get done real quick. Last night on Abby, number one, Ana Navarro was on Abby. And also Abby was on Abby. So let's start with Abby on Abby. First, cut 10. Abby Phillip on the Abby Phillips show.
Two Republicans say Muslims don't belong here after an attempted terror attack against New York's Mayor Zohran Mamdani, and the House Speaker Mike Johnson says nothing really to condemn those comments. Another special guest is going to be with us at the table when we come.
Oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Okay. So she's bashing Mike Johnson. There was a terror attack against Zohran Mamdani. All right? That was Abby on Abby. Abby had a guest on Abby. Ana Navarro. You know her from The View and from her own days as the TDS liberal on CNN. And here she is, cut 11.
Ironic is, so supposedly some of these comments are as a result of the attempt against Mayor Mamdani. in New York, who was raised Muslim, was he not? Himself. Yeah. So they're being anti-Muslim and they're finally defending Mamdani over something.
To be clear, the attack wasn't on Mayor Mamdani. It was on people protesting. It was attacking protesters, people protesting Mamdani.
Right by his house.
It wasn't to frame it as an anti-Muslim attack would actually completely reverse what happened. Someone who shouted Allah Akbar threw a bomb that didn't go off at the protesters.
Republicans are finally doing something.
All right. So did you hear that? Here's another one. The attack was on Mamdani. And then when she gets corrected that the attack was not, as Abby said, and as she said, on Mamdani, then she starts trying to dance away from it without ever admitting, oops, I blew it. I'm working out of the complete wrong narrative. The attack was not on Mayor Mamdani. It was not. It was on protesters by Islamic jihadist ISIS sympathizers or radicals. That's who the attack was on. Now, let's cut into James Gagliano on Fox News about Mamdani while we're visiting the mayor. Cut 12. This would be
the other
Mr.
night,
James.
Instead of hosting the two-star police chief who leaped over the barricades and ran this guy down who had thrown the bomb, the mayor decides at Gracie Mansion to host Mahmoud Khalil. I mean, he's sending such a awful, awful message here to the rank and file. And remember, the mayor, when he was a private citizen who had commented on Twitter then that he saw a cop crying in his car and nature was healing. This is something that, again, the men and women of the NYPD will do the right thing. They're going to enforce the laws. They're going to show up for work. But they understand that this man on the screen right now does not have their backs.
Yep, Mamdani doesn't have their backs. Okay, but we've known that, by the way. Now, I'm looking at the clock. Do I have time? No, I don't have time. Because if I start this, I want to be able to comment on it. There's some news from overseas, you see, that is quite interesting. The way that it rolls out. Anyway, we have more news coming on Iraq. As you know, the mainstream press has pretty much confirmed, according to them, that the Tomahawk missile it was a Tomahawk missile that hit the girls' school over in Iran. I commented on it over the weekend. I said it looks like we could be responsible for this, our forces, and it's a terrible thing. But everything else that they are reporting about what's happening in Iraq is designed to make you think that things are not going well. If we have time, we'll cover that, but also other aspects of Iran. So whatever you do, stay there.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
James Golden Snerdley here with you. Fastest hour in American media. Okay, we have two stories from across the pond this afternoon, my friends. The first one is from GB News, and it kind of speaks for itself. It's a little bit surprising and some things that they're going to have to deal with over there. You know, he's lasted so far 2 or 3 days, or 3 or 4 days. The new Supreme Leader of Iran is a few days into his tenure, and here's a report about the new Supreme Leader overseas across the pond from GB News.
In terms of sanctions, there are reports that the new Iranian leader has a property portfolio in London. He's got properties in Kensington and also in Hampstead, exceeding £50 million. Do we need to look at that? Do we also need to prescribe the IRGC?
Well, we think the IRGC should be prescribed. The extent of Iranian influence in our country should be properly investigated, and all these organisations that are sponsored by the Iranian regime should be closed down, and in some cases people thrown out of the country. We're about to see a march in London, the so-called Al-Quds March, which is something that has been encouraged for years by the Iranian state and its sponsored organisations here, and that shouldn't go ahead.
So the terrorist state of Iran has sponsored an Al-Quds march, and people are saying it shouldn't go ahead, but so far. And turns out the new Supreme Leader, big real estate guy over there, £50 million worth of real estate in London that he owns in London. Pretty remarkable. Now, British Parliament. My friends, there was a bill put up by the Brits, by a young man in the opposition, had to be the opposition, wasn't the Labour Party, and the bill would have prohibited first cousins from marrying each other. Why? I don't want to get personal and ask people, have they ever wanted to marry their first cousins? Well, not wanted to. Have they ever thought about it seriously? About marrying your first cousin? Anyway, at Prime Minister's questions, he was asked about it because apparently the Prime Minister of the Keir Starmer doesn't like the bill. And Keir Starmer wants it to be okay for first cousins to wed each other. Apparently, at least that's given from what we have here in this a little bit of a soundbite from the Parliament over there. Here you go. Cut 9, Carlos. Please.
A marriage between first cousins carries significant health issues, many of which aren't even knowable until post-birth. When practiced generation after generation, there is a significant multiplier effect. In addition, the real impacts to the openness of our society and women's rights in our country are also significant. After all, there are significant dynamics in sharing a same set of grandparents. On Friday, this government has a choice to let my bill go through to ban first cousin marriage to committee stage. Will the Prime Minister think again before instructing his whips to block this legislation?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we've taken our position on that bill. Thank you. That completes Prime Minister's questions.
Okay, so let me explain what happened to you there. The Prime Minister's whips, we have whips here, they whip up the vote. Some of them might be doing more than that, though. You never know over there. You never know over here. People like that term. I'm a whip. Hello, baby. I'm a whip. Would you like to see what I do? Anyway, the whips over there whip up the votes, and the Prime Minister has urged his whips to block this thing at all costs. He wants to allow first cousins, to continue. Apparently, it's already happening over there. Hence the need for the legislation banning it. Why do you? I don't know why. Does anyone have a wild guess as to why first cousin marriages in England have become a problem recently? Anybody have a clue as to why? I don't know. You know, I know who we could ask. You know who might know? We have a representative in Minnesota that might be able to help us understand the dynamics of this. See whether we can reach her or her husband. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen. We have more on the talking filibuster. Tim Scott says he likes it, but other people don't. Look, one of the things that has not happened, I want to get serious for a moment here. Time we have left. Not talk about cousins marrying each other and noodling each other, canoodling each other. Hello, cuz. Hi, baby. Did the whip send you over? Do you have the whip? Hello, cuz. Strange things are happening in this world. Very strange. Steve Witkoff was on CNBC the other day. That's number 15. And now he was one of the negotiators, along with Jared Kushner, negotiating with Iran before hostilities broke out. And I think it's important to hear what he says where Iran was, on the nuclear proliferation issue. So here he is again. He was speaking on CNBC.
Well, first of all, they had 460 kilograms of 60% enriched material. There is no reason to be at 60%. None. Zero reason unless you're pursuing a weapon. So that's the first thing I would say to the naysayers. The second thing I would say to the naysayers is who actually shows evidence of their weapon. Would a murderer do such a thing? Everybody has known that they have been testing for weaponization since 2003. The IAEA has attested to that. So we know that they've done all kinds of testing on weapons. And it wouldn't be all that much for them to do a World War II vintage type weapon. So we knew that it was possible that they could have a weapon, or they might be close to being able to procure a weapon. And then I give you this other detail that no one seems to want to talk about, which is they could easily have taken the 60% enriched material and made a dirty bomb out of it. That would have been a really easy step. So there were all kinds of reasons to be concerned with where they were. And they claimed that they were coming to the negotiation with Jared and I for good purposes, to explain to them what they needed from an enrichment standpoint. So to start the conversation off with the predicate that they're entitled to enrich, with the further predicate that they've got 11 bombs worth of enrichment material a week to a week and a half away from being weapons grade, and that they weren't going to give to us diplomatically what they claim we couldn't win from a military standpoint. That was reason enough for us to determine that they weren't there for to be purposefully negotiating a diplomatic settlement to this conflict.
Yeah. Okay. And we have been saying this for ages on this side. Iran's nuclear ambitions have been clear. The only people that don't seem to believe it are liberals. They don't seem to believe that Iran wanted a nuke. And we're on the way to getting a nuke. All right, we got to look at California. News, my friends, Iran plotting a drone attack on California. That's in the Daily Mail this afternoon. As retaliation for the war, terrifying FBI alert reveals the FBI alerted California law enforcement to potential Iran drone strikes. In retaliation for the war against the Islamic Republic, they have allegedly aspired to conduct a surprise attack using unmanned aerial vehicles from an unidentified vessel off the coast of the United States homeland. Isn't this a wonderful time for the Democrats to have the Homeland Security Department shut down so that they could protect American illegal aliens in America? Just as, protecting the homeland is actually important. Way to go, Democrats. So there's a drone threat for California. New York Times this afternoon. Oh, another story in California. I love this. Well, there's a big story. It prints out to 8 pages this afternoon. The exodus of California's tech billionaires from the Golden State to Florida's Gold Coast. And by the way, you just had another one. I don't have time to get into these today with the few minutes that we have left. But that story is out there, as well as a story from Fox. The former Starbucks CEO, Howard Schultz, is moving to Florida from Washington State. By the way, if you don't know, Washington State, the deep blue, totally liberal Washington State, is also planning to steal money from people they consider to be ultra wealthy in the form of taxes and people are beginning in Washington State. I talked to a person, former Microsoft executive the other day, who moved to Arizona because of this very issue. Said, we got out. He and his partner got out. They wanted to tax our income. We worked hard for this income. We saved it for retirement. We're not going to let them take it from us. So they moved from Washington State to Arizona. And you have here, former CEO of Starbucks, Howard Schultz, told Washington State goodbye. He's moving to Florida. LA Times did a huge article about the exodus of California tech billionaires from California to Florida. And by the way, what they're doing too is building up the infrastructure that they want in Florida by way of building new schools that can serve their wealthy children, building new infrastructure to accommodate their lifestyle. So they're investing a lot of money. Yesterday, by the way, announced that Yamaha, a division of Yamaha, moving out of California to Georgia. So liberals, keep on doing what you're doing. Meanwhile, Republicans concede, according to the New York Times, that they need to pivot on immigration ahead of the midterms. House Republicans ought to use their annual policy retreat near Miami, where you're Amy, this week to articulate a legislative agenda that could broadly appeal to voters ahead of the midterm election. In the middle of the gathering, Speaker Mike Johnson, a vocal booster of his fractious conference, and one who was often publicly sunny about its electoral prospects, acknowledged a vulnerability. President Trump's immigration crackdown has alienated voters, and his party is now in need of a reboot on the issue. We've got a little hiccup with some of the Hispanic and Latino voters for certain because of the immigration enforcement was viewed to be overzealous, he said in an interview on stage. And you know, everybody can describe it differently, but here's the good news. We're in a course correction mode right now. No, you're not. You're in a bend over mode. You're not in a course correction mode. A course correction mode would be saying the truth. Every time you look at Democrats, they're accusing ICE of murdering 2 American citizens. That's the reason they say that they have shut down. I don't hear any Republicans say Renee Good was not murdered. She was killed because she interfered with law enforcement and got herself killed. They are too afraid to do it. They're afraid of backlash. They have been afraid all along to talk about immigration when the Democrats complain about separating children. You people separate children every day when you send American citizens to jail, and to prison. Why are you asking us to do something different when we detain these people? Republicans have been timid. They always leave someone else to carry the water. Back in the day, it was Rush, carry the water, do our messaging for it. Now it's Donald Trump. Not only do the action legislative, carry the water, explain it. Talk radio people, please explain what we're doing because we're too timid and too afraid to explain it. You never explain what you're doing to the American people, and yet you think people are just going to understand? Why not grow a set of onions and push back against the utter nonsense that the Democrats spew every single day, 24/7? Instead of we have to reboot, we have to reboot right now, too. James Golden, Snerdley with you here. Don't go away.
Rush. This is the Rush Hour with James Golden.
Bo Snerdley.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's the Rush Hour with James Golden.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
Rush.
Now, here's James Golden.
My friends, do you remember the name Tiffany Henyard? Do you remember that name at all? All right, how about if I said, do you remember the woman that said she was the super mayor out in Dalton, Illinois? Tiffany Henyard. Investigation after investigation for corruption. Declared herself the super mayor. She, of course, was a Democrat. They're still trying to track down the financial shenanigans that she allegedly committed during her tenure as the mayor of Dalton, Illinois. They finally threw her out. Republicans, beware. She has now switched her affiliation from Democrat to a Republican, and she's moved. She's now in Georgia, and she's running as a Republican in the South Fulton County District 5 seat. As a Republican. Two notes about Paul. Knighted by Queen Elizabeth II for his services to music on this day in 1997. He was 50 years old at the time. This is the day that Paul McCartney became Sir Paul. Also, the music publisher Dick James on this day announced that there were 446 versions of Paul McCartney's song Yesterday that had been recorded in 1967. By that time, can you imagine how many now? May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your families and your loved ones. Love and gratitude for your being here, allowing me to be with you. God willing, we're back tomorrow for the Thursday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy.
Download and subscribe
at BeBullish.com.